Okay, REC. All right, gotcha. Okay, cool.
Just make sure it keeps saying
REC, right? Okay, thank you.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let me call the meeting to disorder. I'm Clifton Boyd. I'm the, I guess, founding president of the Ming Chuan branch. And yeah, wait to show things until we're ready. Okay.
Sure.
And we're very glad to have, I guess this is the first joint union meeting that I've ever been involved in. And we're pleased to have a lot of people from British Council as well as, of course, our Ming Chuan people. Let me just explain briefly how these things work. We've got a camera going back there, as you may have noticed, and we are going to make this video available to the general public. So I always tell people, if you want to be seen, sit in front of the camera. If you don't want to be seen, sit behind the camera. And likewise, if you have questions or comments that perhaps you don't want to go out publicly, wait perhaps until the end or ask us to turn it off momentarily or something like that. Just keep in mind what we're doing here is as public as possible, because there are a lot of people who can't come to these meetings or who have well-founded fears of being known to have come to these meetings, and they very often comment with appreciation about the fact that we try to make these recordings of the meetings available to them. Okay, so first I'm going to talk for a while. I'm going to spend a while today talking about the history of the union with Ming Chuan, what happened here over the last few years. In particularly the 1919 attempt to break up the ELC and replace it with some sort of new language center. We never found out any details about it. This new center would consist only of people that management deemed suitable to be in the new center, although we think it's more accurate to say management wanted to get rid of some teachers they found unsuitable for reasons that have nothing to do with their teaching, but a lot to do with their criticism and opposition to past actions by ownership and management. Now, we think the evidence clearly shows that this was part of a broader plan to increase profits, very much at the expense of the students' education quality. And as I say, this is our conclusion, of course, but we think it's an inescapable conclusion for anyone who looks at the evidence. I want to briefly point out why I'm going to relate this history. And I think the reasons are mostly pretty obvious. Your situations, of course, you guys at British Council are different, but you may be able to learn something about what works and what doesn't from us. It gives us, I think, a good object lesson in what the union. Yeah, it's in the. And PC gives you this. Okay. So this is off. This is on. Don't give me on yet. Okay. No.
Okay.
If you do that, the whole thing powers down, and we have to start over again. Okay. So, I find a lot of people that I talk to, especially in the early phases, which really are not. It's okay.
Oh, it's okay?
It's okay. We'll get used to it. Yeah. A lot of people, especially in the early phases of working with a union, don't really quite understand what a union can and can't do for them. I always say it's not so much a matter of what the union can do for you, but what the union can do with you. And I think we'll see some good examples of that. For the Ming Chuan people, I also want to remind everybody what management has tried to do in the past. It's about 5-6 years ago most of this stuff happened. A lot of people may have forgotten a lot of it, and we have, of course, a lot of people who weren't here at the time this happened. So I want people to be aware of what management can try to do and what they have tried to do. And there are people in the ELC now who feel that current changes in the ELC kind of look a lot like the same idea coming back. Once again, I don't have personal knowledge of that, but a number of people have commented that to me. I, of course, being retired, as I guess, I presume all of you know. And most importantly though, I know it sounds silly or sentimental, but we can get courage and inspiration from seeing what other people have been through and realize that if we have unified and principled opposition to what we see as bad ideas or bad doings by management, then we, with that kind of united opposition, can do things to protect our jobs and maybe even improve them. So, the best place to start is in the autumn of 2018. That's when a man named Toshi Hasumi, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, was suddenly installed as the director of the English Language Center. And this was unusual in several ways. Unlike our previous directors, he was not an ELC member. Most of us had no previous knowledge of him. And more troubling, his academic credentials were not impressive. His highest degree was an EMBA. Is anyone familiar with an EMBA?
Electronic Masters in Business Administration.
I'm not sure if it's electronic or if it's executive. If it's executive, it's kind of a shortened version of an MBA program for busy executives who presumably can classify a lot of their professional experience as credits towards the degree. I understand at least. I mean, this is the Wikipedia understanding of how that works.
No, you're right.
Anyway, okay, I will say it's maybe not an impressive degree for the head of a language center. No particular higher education in English that I am aware of. He did graduate, I think from Brandeis actually, quite a good school in the United States. I believe he studied psychology. But compared to the fact that we have lots of people with PhDs and specifically PhDs in very relevant subjects, linguistics, language teaching, English, and so on, it seemed like an odd choice to go past all of those people who had, in many cases, some years of experience teaching in the center. And also we received, how I put it, intimations that Mr. Hasumi was being brought on specifically because he was willing to do things that perhaps previous directors might have balked at. Am I still on camera? Are we getting all
Yes,
this?
you are.
Okay. I have a tendency to wander around, so tell me if I need to hold still.
You're fine.
Okay. Now, very soon after being installed, Mr. Hasumi began to recruit people, or try to recruit people, actually, including myself, to teach extension classes. And the extension classes are something we know really very little about. Some of us occasionally are asked to and go and teach at high schools, government agencies, private companies in many cases, and we get paid by Ming Chuan, and these companies pay Ming Chuan, and presumably there is some difference between what Ming Chuan gets and what we get, which goes in some way or another to Ming Chuan's profits. And we don't really know, or at least I don't know a lot about the details of the way the extension school works. And this has long been a feature of ELC life. I've taught some of these classes. I'm not suggesting there's anything inherently nefarious about such classes. It just seemed odd that suddenly we had a new director from out of nowhere who seemed very interested in getting people to go and teach these classes, which, whatever we know about them, we know they do make profit for Ming Chuan or the ELC, as the case may be. We started getting worried, I think is the short way of putting it. So a couple of us joined the union in the fall, and then later on in the spring, as things got increasingly strange, a couple of more people joined, and a few here, a few there. So by the end of the semester, we certainly didn't have anything. We weren't very close to having half of the full-time permanent teachers in the ELC, but we had a few anyway, and this proved to be critical. And here I'm kind of going to draw the first lesson here, which is that you need to start preparing beforehand, before something really crazy happens. And so on Friday the 31st of May 2019, at our last regularly scheduled ELC meeting for the year, something crazy happened. And I think the best thing to do is, TC, can we play the recording? Yeah, what I'm going to do is put the transcript up and also play the recording at the same time. I think you'll find the transcript is much easier to... Yeah, this is the recording? Okay. We may not have volume turned up. Have you trusted volume yet? Okay. Now, can we put up the transcript at the same time?
Probably need more volume there.
I think that might be all we have.
So this next semester will be more of a transition phase, so give you the opportunity for you to apply for another department. In terms of your schedule, we will provide you with schedule or classes for one more semester.
Can we start this at the beginning? This is really...
If you're staying at a new center, then
Yeah, the recording. Now, let's start. How are you?
Alright, so basically, our central work is expanding this year. So basically, for the next school year, we do transition phase. Now, you will still get your class arrangements schedule. So that wouldn't be a problem for the first semester. Now, after next week, we're going to start that process. So basically, either you join a new center or you might be applying to another department. Okay, so this next semester will be more of a transition phase to give you the opportunity for you to apply to another department. In terms of your schedule, we will provide you with schedule or classes for one more semester if you're going to move on to another department. If you're staying at a new center, then the new center will bring the class. That would be a problem. In terms of the evaluation, we will be based on new center standards for the next school year. If you do transfer, you will apply to another center. Your evaluation will be based on their regulations. So
you said transfer to a new center, but by that you department, right?
yeah, well, basically,
So you're for the department.
if you're going to be teaching English classes to a new center, if you're applying to another department at another college, or you know.
You mean within H1?
Yes, within that one.
So in other words, applying to another center or department within H1?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is, yeah. Yes.
So what kind of center you want?
Well, basically, we'll have a new center, new line center, but basically, it's going to start next year, but it's going to be through the process.
And in what sense is this new language center different from the ELC?
Well, basically, will be a lot different, but we'll start the review process next 2 weeks, so we'll try to interview next process.
The testing for the exams
Okay, question. This is 47 minutes long. I assume we don't want to listen to the whole
No,
thing.
no.
Okay, okay. I
Especially, I
think,
think most of us here didn't know this, yes?
Sorry?
I think most of us here, I know this one.
I think
wasn't here.
I was not here at the time,
yeah,
but
but remember, a lot of this is going out to the
Yeah,
invisible
yeah.
people behind the
Yeah.
camera. So, yeah, we're going to be going through some stuff, you know, so I'm sorry about that. But I do think it's important to put the whole story together. Okay,
Yeah, for
so the point in playing that really is to simply show that this is not based on someone's recollections.
yes.
This is a transcript actually a number of people worked on at different times, but you can hear the recording. It's quite clear. It descends into a lot of confusion and crosstalk later on, but for the most part, it's quite clear. We're not making this up or guessing at it, and that's really the point. Unfortunately, one thing that doesn't come through in the recording is the sound of people's jaws hitting the floor when he basically just simply walks in and announces, well, okay, we're closing. Now, I should point out the blue shows things that I've highlighted because I think they are the essential things to the story. Obviously, there are a lot of turns and twists and so on, but you've got...
So does this guy still work here?
No. Well, wait,
So he failed. I mean, his job was to come in here.
there was a kind of happy ending. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. I mean, with the union's help, and I don't think there's any question we could have possibly done it without the union's help.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
We still have our jobs. I'm cutting ahead to page 3. I think Toshi still teaches, or at least last time I checked the website, he's still listed as teaching some classes somewhere. But he basically hasn't been seen.
His job wasn't to teach, he was a hatchet man.
I wouldn't argue with that. I wouldn't argue with that conclusion. But once again, let me stick to my story. It's okay. I'm trying, and I'm being...
Well, I'm also talking to the audience.
Yeah.
He was a hatchet man.
Okay.
You might not want to make that claim, I will.
I won't disagree with it. I won't disagree with it. But what I'm trying to do here, and the reason I'm pretty much reading from a script, which is something I very seldom do, is I'm trying to clearly distinguish things we know for sure from conclusions, from rumors, from informed speculation. I'm trying to make clear what's here. Okay. So just to give you kind of where it goes from here, and once again, we're not going to look at all of it. Okay, but my characterization, and I still think this is absolutely true, this was a fire and rehire plan.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, 100%.
How much more obvious can it be?
Well, let's get rid of troublemakers.
Yeah, oh yeah, and we have some people that probably they really wanted to get rid of. So I'm trying to pin him down because he's saying there'll be a new center, so the critical question is there, will anyone who applies to the new center automatically be accepted? And I see it, if not, this is tantamount to fire and rehire. And so once again in blue, in what way is that different from firing everybody and then rehiring? Well, because you can apply to another department. Well, that's what rehire means, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so is this as obvious as it seems to be? Can I move on from here?
100%.
Okay, fair enough. Now, what he went on to do was say, okay, there are going to be interviews, and I think I might have this in blue. We're going to have interviews for the new department. So that was the deal. We're going to have this new department, you can apply to it. And if you're not suitable for the new department, then we'll try to find you a position in some other department at Ming Chuan. That is, some department that presumably doesn't teach English. And it's not that has never happened in the years that I've been here, but I would be skeptical of the idea of a wholesale thing. And so, once again, if you want to apply for it, that is the new center, you have an interview, and if you don't make it, then we'll worry then about what department you apply to next, and so on and so on.
This is so blatant.
It's just that
Very clear.
Yeah. And one thing, okay, one more point that I just think is interesting. Where are we here? So, do we have a list of other schools and departments that are looking for teachers? No. Well, then, how do we find out whether or not they need us? Well, basically, when we know what people are joining the new center and whether or not, in other words, what people are being hired for. I don't think there was anybody who wasn't going to try to get into the new center. We have the camera running. Be aware of that, please, okay? Okay. Basically, it seems, at least from this, that no attempt had been made to find places for these other people. It was just going to be a matter of, if you're not suitable for our new center, we'll be nice and maybe we'll try to find you some job somewhere else with some department that isn't the English department. So what I don't really have here is that these interviews I have it here, but I don't want to scroll down through a bunch of crosstalk and find it. The gist of it was, okay, we're going to have these interviews to decide who's suitable, and you need to get those interviews in as quickly as possible. We're going to begin them, we're going to finish them within 2 weeks because all these decisions have to be made, and it's a big hurry. In fact, if I remember correctly, they started trying to have these interviews the following Monday. So naturally, everyone, I'll characterize the rest of the meeting this way. A lot of people were falling all over themselves to be the first person, among the first people to get the interview, figuring that whoever could get in there first would be in the best position to cut a deal. If you're familiar with that old thing from game theory about the prisoner's dilemma, okay, it obviously is kind of a variation on that. Oh, there are only so many spaces in the new center, and I want to get one of them, so I'll make a deal. And by the time you have enough people who have made deals, it becomes very difficult to stop the whole process because they can go to whomever and say, oh, you know, the great majority of these people agreed to this. Perhaps there were a few unlucky ones who didn't. But one thing I would stress here is I can't imagine that the positions you would get in the new center would be in very significant ways worse positions than you had in the original center.
So it's a stag hunt.
I'm sorry?
In game theory terms, it's a stag hunt.
Okay, okay. You're more up on the limit. Okay. I'll take your word for it. I have no idea what that is.
Basically, if you all work together, you get. If you're hunting and you all work together, you can give a bag of stag. But if somebody goes off to hunt to get a rabbit, they get a rabbit, but everybody else gets nothing.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar to the prisoner's dilemma.
It is. Yeah.
Okay, perhaps if you had been there, you might have bucked for a job in the game theory department, teaching English there. Okay, so what happened next? Well, this was Friday afternoon, so what happened next was a lot of phone calls. You should have seen my phone bill. And PC, who by this time a number of us had already met with, preliminary to all of this, he said, if you can get half of the people in the group, and we defined the group as we understood it, that is full-time ELC teachers, and at that time, full-time mid-permanent. Nowadays, that's not the case. Am I wrong about that? Did they have special contract teachers in there yet at that time? Actually, they had started doing that. Yeah.
Just started.
They had just started. It was a pretty new thing, yeah. So basically, at this point, full-time, permanent, pretty much mean the same thing.
But just crappier contracts.
Presumably. I mean, no. When does management ever come along and force you to interview to get a better job than the one you already have?
Well, these not full-time contracts. What are they called again?
Well, let me get to that. That's on page 4. Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to go in chronological order. You're asking the right questions.
Oh, I know.
Let me get that. Sorry. Sure. There's no problem. Okay. So over the weekend, a lot of phone calls and enough people joined the union so that we could go to PC and say we now have more than half of the bargaining unit, if you're familiar with that term from labor law, like you are. We now have a bargaining unit, and PC said, okay, now I can do something. So he marched in on Monday morning with a piece of paper that officially said, stop it, don't have these interviews. And the response to that was basically, what? Something like that. They continue trying to carry on the interviews. But now we could go to people and say, we have a union, and they say don't do this. We have official advice. As one of our members put it in some kind of line chat or something, yesterday we were sitting ducks, now we have the union. And so enough people refused to go to the interviews that essentially the process broke down. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm assuming that what they were trying to do is blatantly illegal.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that is my understanding. And however, but I'm kind of trying to put you in the mindset at the time. You're sitting there thinking, how am I going to save my job? And who do I have to walk over to save my job? You're not necessarily thinking about, I believe I will take this to the highest court in the land. That comes a little bit later. Anyway, long and short, some people went to the meetings, some people were asked to, well, can you bring your friend who's resistive? Some people were told, well, you can go to the meeting with somebody else, you don't have to do it alone. And then we're told, oh, you have to do it alone. Some people were treated in a way that I would describe, in my opinion, as browbeating. And some people were treated to just a nice, amiable little chat about nothing in particular. From what the reports I got from people at the interview experience, it was quite clear they knew who was suitable, or more importantly, not suitable for the new center. But nonetheless, enough people refused to go. And I think another critical thing is that I don't know of anyone who went and made an agreement or signed anything. The union advice was, don't go. You can't be made to apply for a job you already have. But if you must go, don't sign anything. Record. And of course, in Taiwan, you can legally record a conversation that you're part of without the other person knowing. I think some people did that. I think some people said, oh, by the way, I'm recording this. The point is, a lot of sand in their gears, and the whole thing bogged down. And then 2 weeks later, June 14th, exactly 2 weeks later, pretty much, Ming Chuan called a special meeting at which the very top brass appeared. Now, we have actually a tape, a recording, I'm sorry, how old, I say tape. We have a recording and a transcript of that June 14th meeting also, and all of these things are available on request. I even have copies with me today, and we're going to make them available to those of you who are watching at home. You'll be getting an email or something saying where you can go, see the transcript, hear the recordings, and so on. But that June 14th meeting would be a great cure for insomnia. I mean, it is a long, confused thing that is even hard to characterize what exactly management were saying, except that the words bad communication, misunderstanding, and were misconstrued appeared again and again and again. So there was kind of a whole set of, as one person who was familiar with the transcript I just showed you, and also at the June 14th meeting said, they just sat there and denied everything that happened in the May 31 meeting. I haven't gone through everything to make sure all of that is strictly true, but I think that was a reasonable statement that someone made at the time. Okay. Now, in the meantime, there was, okay, so we were academics. So what did we do? We went to the library, and I should say, dug up Mr. Hasumi's master's thesis, the EMBA, and it was really curious. The title was Operation and Planning for English Courses at a University, I'm sorry, it's not but at University Extension Language School Program. Article missing there. So I went down to the Central Library, made a copy of it, and I should have all of this stuff here. Like I said, there's plenty of paper if anyone's particularly interested. So I made a copy of this thesis and read it, and it was quite interesting. I would best describe it as a business plan. It details how the Extension School or English Language Center of a imaginary university called WU, which just happened to have one campus in Taoyuan and one in Shilin near an MRT station, and happened to have a radio station, which, by the way, I think, I could be wrong, is right around the corner here. In other words, and I did take the time to check, couldn't be any place but Ming Chuan. And this talked about how to turn this language center from a cost center into a profit center. Now, certain details closely resembled what had happened in the ELC meeting, particularly things about getting rid of older established teachers who were, I think he said, in a state of comatose. Didn't know I guess comatose is the 51st state now. So clearly there was a lot in common there, and things that happened afterwards also came not exactly like in the business plan, which dated to 2013. Some years had passed and technology had changed and so on, but the basic idea seemed to be the same. You farm out the high-value PhD people with years of experience to teach profitable classes to non-Ming Chuan students at high schools and so on. And then you relegate the teaching of the actual classes to, well, this wasn't in, I don't think this was in his thesis, but this is what they shortly tried to do. You relegate the teaching of the actual classes to computer programs. The idea was the students would come in, not yet for all of their classes, but for a significant number. Students would come in and sit at a computer in one of the language labs and do computerized lessons and take quizzes, and then eventually when they got good enough quizzes, they would be deemed to have passed the course. And in some cases, there were no teachers in the rooms. They did have people in there with some of the computerized classes, at least some, who were to help the students with the technology if they had trouble.
Right ideas on MBA.
Yeah. Oh, you like this one too. I don't know if they succeeded, but I think they did. But I know that at least one person was asked to teach a special kind of class where, okay, you're in this room going, you know, teaching, and then your voice is being piped into that room, and thus 2 classes are taught for the price of 1. Okay. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's the way they're going, man.
Yeah, I got to. And one thing actually that I think is worth saying here, I don't think that Ming Chuan was necessarily uniquely bad in wanting to do this kind of profitization. They may have been at the vanguard. They may have been the sharp end of the spear, but I don't think they were uniquely bad.
Oh no, they're just generally evil.
Well, once again, your characterization. Your characterization. Remember, I did work for them for many years, and so anyway, without getting into characterizations, the students didn't like this very much. I know D-card, there were a lot of comments on D-card, right? My lack of Chinese skills cuts me off from some of this. What I first became aware of when it came to the, I didn't get you to download it. I'm just going to use this old-fashioned technology here, sorry.
Do you want to show the picture?
Oh, yeah.
I forgot.
Okay. Yeah, once again, maybe it's easiest to show you the picture first and then explain what you're looking at. Yeah. Oh, now I have to see show a picture. Okay. Okay. That's it. There you go. What are we seeing here? Is that the only?
No reaction?
We need power again. Is this the only picture you have?
No.
Okay.
All of them here.
Okay. I'll go through them. Thanks.
It's a power switch on.
Sorry?
It's the power switch on the side switched on.
Yes, the computer is on. It's just not. Okay. It just takes a moment to wake up. Okay. Trying to pick which one is the best. What happened? This was in November of 2020, so about a year and a half later. Okay. About a year and a half later, this bulletin board appeared, and I need to explain just what that is exactly. I'll listen to the music while I find the picture. Okay.
Why are all school bells like that?
Sorry?
Why are all school bells the exact same?
It's I think it's from the Japanese tradition.
Really?
Actually, a lot of education here does kind of come through there. At least I hear that in Japan a lot. Okay. All right. So what they did was they put up actually 4 of them. You can see 2 of them here. They put up bulletin boards. I'm sorry. They was the Student Government Association. This is in front of the gym building in the other campus which is where the Student Government Association has their offices. So they put up these 4 bulletin boards. You can see 2 of them there. And wait a second. This is a change. I'm trying to find. Okay, there's a couple of them over there. There's one here. And you can see that there's one bulletin board that's got all of the comments on it and that everybody's paying attention to. The way this works is they take, sorry, they're all on now, okay?
It's a nice hat.
Yeah, I don't actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice hat.
They put up a question. There were 4 questions. I don't remember what all of them were. One was about a very pro-Chinese television station, and some question about their license hadn't been renewed, and was this a violation of free speech? And I don't remember what the other 2 were. But one of them was basically, what do you think about the new kind of English classes at Ming Chuan? And you can see, looking at the pictures, there's one that gets almost all of the comments. Now, the way this works is, if you have something positive to say, you take a little white piece of paper and you write your note on there and you stick it on the board. And if you have something negative to say, you take a little black piece of paper and put it on the bulletin board. And of course, this is, as far as I remember, all in Chinese. But you don't really need the Chinese to see what's going on here. I see 1, 2, 3 white things and a whole lot of black ones. And I'm not exactly sure when in the day I took this photo, but I think I came back later and there was even more of the same on there. So the commentary from the students was like overwhelmingly negative. All right. So in the face of all this, as I already mentioned, Mr. Hasumi was kind of not seen again. He was formally replaced sometime towards the end of 2019. Before that time, he seemed to still be on the website, but I don't really know what he was doing. He wasn't presiding over regular ELC meetings. And so in 2019, we got a new director. And I won't say everyone lived happily ever afterwards, but at least that immediate problem was gone. And of course, the June 14th meeting was the point at which they said, "Oh no, we never said we were going to close the ELC. That was all a mistake, all a misunderstanding." So that whole thing about re-interviewing for our jobs, that was pretty much dead at that point. So, where were we then? Well, one more thing had happened in the meantime that I haven't mentioned yet, which becomes important. And that is that we scheduled a meeting. Now, after we got all of these people to join the union, we have enough people to form a branch. So we formed a branch. And once we have a branch, we have a right to meet on the employee's property or wherever. So we scheduled a meeting. And when we got to the place where the meeting room was, it was locked. And so we went to the room next door, which wasn't locked, but it had a few students in it. I should explain that, as you've noticed, this campus is quite small, and so it's routine practice for unused classrooms to just be left open. People often go in to have formal or informal meetings, or very often students will just go to hang out or have their lunch or something, because they do have to be somewhere. And so this was the case. All these other rooms around were open, and then we found one that was empty, and we said, okay, we'll just put up a sign and say the room has been moved to there. We went to the second room not too long after that. A guard came along and said that we had to leave because the room needed to be locked for security reasons. We explained that we were teachers. He seemed confused and left. Came back again a little while later, and eventually there were several people, and by this time, or by about this time, the chief of the ELC, chief of ELC is Ada. She's not to be confused with Mr. Hasumi. She's still in office. She arrived, and also Dr. Fan was there, right? And,
yeah, I think so.
And several other important people. And so we had a nice long conversation outside the room. It must have been 20 minutes or something like that. Do you remember, PC?
I think more than 10.
You think more than that?
Yeah.
It was a lengthy conversation about whether or not we could use the room. And the main gist that they had was, well, you should have reserved the room first. Okay. Well, nobody else was reserving rooms for these kinds of informal meetings. Eventually, I think partly because we simply wouldn't leave the room, they said, well, okay, you can have your meeting, but next time you have to schedule it properly. So we had our meeting, and what I loved about it was the entire time we had the meeting, Dr. Fan and Ada and one other person, I forget who it was. It's not somebody I know, somebody I recognize, but I don't know who he is. They stood like outside the door the entire hour that we were there, which I think might be the reason nobody else came into the meeting afterwards. Well, of course, under, I think the Taiwan under the Labor Union Act, branches do have a right to have meetings, right? Okay, so we complained to the MOL tribunal about this. And we went, and we ended up down in the MOL tribunal, a place that some of you guys are familiar with now. Not the same room. It would have been cool if it was the same room, but they've moved since then. So we ended up, we said, before the same board, complaining that they had, violated our right to have a union activity. And eventually, the MOL brokered a deal, but in my mind, it was very much a deal that we won. And certainly MOL made it very clear they did not want to see Ming Chuan there again about such a thing. But we prevailed because we had evidence, or I should say documents. They said, well, how do we know this is even a real union? Well, look at the official charter that you were formally given, which is like on, I don't know, page 64 in this evidence book that we prepared. And they said, but those rooms are ordinarily locked at those times. And we said, okay, well, look at photos 7 through 14 or whatever, showing the same rooms at the same time, 1 week later, unlocked with small groups of people using them for whatever. Oh, well, but we didn't try to stop anyone from going into the meeting. Well, look at the other photos where you see the 3 big shots standing by the door, looking very scary in my opinion. Oh, but we would have booked you a room if you just asked us. Well, look at a sworn statement from one of our members who repeatedly tried after this meeting, because one thing they said is, oh, you can have your meetings, you just have to officially schedule a room. And one of our members tried, I don't remember for how long, I think it was regularly for a period of some weeks, and was always told, oh, I can't do it, you have to go to this other person. In short, in my opinion, won in this tribunal. And we won, by the way, what we got was an agreement that the union would be able to have meetings unmolested, which is why you guys can come here today.
Yay!
Yay! So that's why we can invite you, because the Ming Chuan made a deal with the union, meaning the union can do basically. Can have meetings here independent of the Ming Chuan branch. That we felt was a good thing. And that was because the owner of the university refused to have anything to do with the Ming Chuan branch. So we said, okay, well, we'll let you make a deal with the union, but not the Ming Chuan branch. We said, well, okay, that works for us. So, some of these things might apply pretty directly to you guys at British Council, some of them don't. I've gone on longer than I planned to, and I do apologize for that. But I still want to make the final point or two. You guys have the right skills to do this stuff too. Now, you may need to read through some rather long and boring and convoluted regulations or laws, but you're English teachers. You've all read some long, boring things, or you would not be where you are today. It's not. I mean, in my opinion, you guys are pretty well qualified for that. And you've all written some kind of research paper or something. It's the same thing. You're collecting documentation. But in a way, it's kind of easier because it's not just in the form of books and scholarly articles. Pretty much anything. Emails, photographs, recordings, even emails to yourself, as I've talked to you about before, can be powerful evidence in that they show you didn't make something up a year later. And unlike writing your research papers, you don't get downgraded if you put the period on the wrong side of the citation or get opposite mixed up with loxit or something like that. No one's going to downgrade you for that. Now, I want to make one more comment, and that's about unity, because that's what this meeting is really about. We're trying to get some unity between our organizations. There have been times when I wish we had been more aggressive. I think we could have accomplished more. And there have been a few times when I thought we should have been less aggressive. But what's the point in having a union if everybody just decides individually to do what they think is best? Or even worse, if everybody just does what they think is best for themselves individually. And in other words, not even bothering to act at all in situations where they personally don't have anything at stake. Like any form of democracy, a union sometimes involves going along with a consensus that we don't fully agree with, because otherwise there's no unity. And if there's any big lesson in this long saga I've been recounting, it's that always it was when we had unity, always when it was when people went to the trouble of collecting information that we could later use. That's always when we were able to accomplish things. Okay. Thanks very much for your patience. I really appreciate that. I'll let Lucy take it from here.
Okay, yeah, sure.
You don't need a microphone there. We can do it. You got it?
Yeah, that's okay.
I don't need that. Okay. Since there are few friends, they just attend afterward. So I think it would be a good idea to have some time to let. Are you still recording? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to record, or just you can stop that?
It would break.
Because I would suggest to have some time to let everyone make a brief introduction to each one.
I think it would be good to have a free discussion, and I think we're turning off the recording for that moment would be good. I didn't know if you wanted to, if you had anything official to say about the latest new and improved evaluations or specific developments in the ELC or anything else.
Yeah, I can explain.
And I'm sorry I ran way into your time when we started. I apologize.
But my concern is that because there are not just only the Chuan branch, but also we have especially we have many union members from the British Council. So I think that would be better to. And I know that Jack made a presentation to introduce the British Council branch. So
Well, maybe let's hear from Jack first, not to cut you off, but it seems to me like the stuff you have might be better handled in more of a question and answer type of format, possibly even with the camera turned off if people prefer that. I don't have a problem. Jack, is that okay with you? Do you want to go ahead?
yeah, I think that would be better.
Okay, that's fine, yeah.
Yeah, get all the information out, and then we can have a Q&A afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah,
sure.
that does make
It's like a
sense.
better, seamless kind of.
All right.
So our president, John. That's one I took the time.
Very bright.
Hi. Yeah, this is all
That was
good.
way better.
You designed that? You designed that?
Oh, I thought I was being quieter than I
Not
was.
personally.
Oh.
And I sure designed a different one that
Oh.
that was like more powerful, I think, but then the members voted for this one.
Oh, man.
Yes, I'm Jack Falconer, and so I'll try and make this about 20 minutes, I suppose, or I'll try and do it shorter if possible. And so I'm just going to talk about why we formed the union branch, what we achieved, and some current issues and challenges. And I'm sorry if you guys know a lot of this already, but I was thinking.
Danger!
You got 5 minutes.
God! Everybody, there's a bomb in the building!
But I was thinking that, so for the benefit of the camera, and we can share this around with non-union members who don't know what's happened to us. Actually, a lot of our union members probably haven't been paying close attention to all the things that have happened, and they might have forgotten, or there might be new members. It's hard to keep track of everything, and I always think that people should be following it. They probably know what's going on. And then I find out that they really don't. So I'll talk about some of the things that happened a couple of years ago, and then what we're kind of dealing with now. So to talk about why we've formed the union branch, I need to give you a bit of background, especially for the Ming
You might want to speak up a bit to the camera.
Yeah.
Okay. Should I use the microphone?
Yeah, I think that will be better.
Put some bass in it, man.
1, 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's David.
Yeah, so I need to kind of talk about the background of just what the British Council is and who our teachers are, and this is for people who don't work for the British Council. And so the British Council Taiwan was established in 2004, and it was one teaching centre based in Xinyi district, and now it's become 4 teaching centres in recent years. We have about 1,600 students, roughly, and we have about just over 50 teachers. We're considered a cram school, so it's just a private cram school. And we have different kinds of teachers, ones that are on full-time contracts. I think all the ones in this room seem to be on full-time contracts. And we have part-time teachers who are hourly paid. So the full-time teachers have always had, for their salaries, a 10-point pay scale that would increase their salary would increase by about 2.5% each year for 10 years. So adding just
well, it goes past 5 if you get it too.
Well, there are some limitations, but that's kind of the general outline of it. So a teacher's salary could increase by about 25% over a period of 10 years. And the part-time teachers have always just been paid a flat rate of, per teaching hour, flat rate. So that's a bit of background about who we are. And I should add that the British Council is a global organisation with teaching centres in more than 100 countries around the world, and it's founded by the British government about 80 or 90 years ago. So in May 2023, Travis Fry, there's Travis Fry over here, he's the vice chairperson of the branch. But he and I became Teachers Association reps first. So this TA is an internal organisation within British Council that allows teachers some kind of avenue to deal with their issues and raise questions and hopefully get improvements for teachers. But after doing it for a very short time, we found that it was quite toothless, and that management have no legal requirement to actually follow through with anything they agree to in those meetings. Chuan?
Well, yeah, just getting to going to part-time staff, not receiving proper annual or sick leave. James and I had been TA reps, I don't know, a couple of years before that.
Yeah, we did that.
Yes.
We literally fought for that when we were TA reps a couple of years before you.
It was right.
They said they agreed to, they were, okay, we'll start doing it now, and then they completely backslid. The TA hits 0 TA.
Yeah, so, because Travis and I, when we took over the role, since all the previous TA reps, some of whom are in this room, had been fighting for change and pretty much been, let's say, strung along and told, yes, okay, we'll do something, and then the change never happened. So what that was that those hourly paid teachers were not getting proper annual leave or sick leave pay. And that was against the law, that was violating the Labour Standards Act. And management were well aware of this, and the situation had just been allowed to continue and continue. So that was one of the biggest gripes. And then the other big gripe was that since the establishment of the British Council Taiwan in 2004, there have been no changes to the teaching pay structures for 19 years. Even though there was a 10-point pay scale, the bottom, point 1 on the pay scale was the same in 2004 as it was in 2023, and the flat rate for hourly paid teachers was the same in 2004 as it was in 2023, so there had been no change, and inflation had increased the cost of living by 25% in that period. So all our teachers were really feeling the pinch, and that was, that was obviously an escalating problem. So each year that became a bigger and more serious issue for all the teachers. So yeah, this is us. This is Travis here, and you can see Chuan over there. We have PC from the union. So we decided to try and form a union branch, but we realized that there are no cram schools, no unionized cram schools in Taiwan, not even one, whether it's English language or otherwise. So it was quite difficult for us to figure out how to go about forming a union. So after quite a lot of research, we came across the Taiwan Higher Education Union, and I finally met PC, and we realized that this was the only union, in fact, that we could join, and they've been excellent, really fantastic union. Yes, we always really appreciate what they've done for us, because I'll tell you some of the things that they helped us achieve in a minute, but we wouldn't have got any of those things without them, and our jobs would be worse. Our working conditions would be much worse without them, and I think our salaries would be a bit lower as well. And I think that if there are like people from other cram schools who might be like watching this, that they should really consider fighting for their rights to join this union, because other cram schools are not giving sick leave pay, they're not giving annual leave, those types of things are guaranteed under the Labour Standards Act, so there is consistent violation out there in the cram school industry. And if you want to know more about when we joined and what we were asking for, you could have a look at this website here, because I did an interview with the Pi News, so you could perhaps check that out and you could read a bit more about it.
It was very serious in that picture.
Pissed off, man.
Yeah.
Yes, we were angry at the time. And so yeah, what we achieved with the help of PC and Taiwan Higher Education Union. I mean, first of all, Travis and I first joined this union in, I think it was June 2023. And then within about 4 or 5 months, so towards the end of 2023, we had more than 70% of our teachers in the union. And we needed a good number of a good percentage to take the company into collective bargaining, which we did in late 2023. And through the collective bargaining, which took exactly 6 months, and it was a series of 5 long negotiation meetings. At the end of it, they the management implemented a 3% pay increase for all the teachers.
But should it be made clear that that is not what we agreed to?
Yeah.
They threw that out to try to get us to shut up.
Yes.
Yes.
In fact, maybe I remember wrong, but didn't they make that offer and it was turned down, or something like close to that offer?
Yeah.
Well, they just did it. Well, yeah.
They made it as an offer, and then they said,
They
"Well,
just-
we'll give it to you anyway."
Yeah,
But you
right.
said it was inadequate.
Yeah, we did not,
Yeah.
the union did not agree.
After, I guess, 5 negotiation meeting, they just gave 3% and they called it a final offer.
But they're like 100%, like, this has nothing to do with the union, we're just doing it because we're nice.
Yeah.
The main benefit is
What a
just taking it or not.
coincidence.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's still pissing me off.
Yeah, they tried to kind of distance their offer from collective bargaining, but they implemented it just a few days after the end of our collective bargaining.
Yeah.
And this was, like I said, the first time in 19 going on 20 years that they've made any change.
Jack, can I just interrupt here, because this is so familiar to us. There were, I won't try to detail them, but there were a lot of things that we asked for that we did get, but never would it be admitted that it had anything to do with the union. And this is one thing that a lot of the time I think we don't really know. We may be doing more good. We may be accomplishing more than we know, because management is never going to come out and say, oh, because of the union, we decided to give you a 3% pay raise. Sometimes you can kind of figure it out, but a lot of the times you don't know how much good you may be doing.
Yeah. So it's clear, like, because when you're working with the union, and from my perspective, I'm quite focused on all the various battles and things that keep coming up all the time. And it's difficult to take a sort of step back sometimes and see the bigger picture and realize that yes, the union has done a great deal for us if we kind of add up all the small wins and put them together over the long period of time. But yeah, so we didn't actually accept this because we were still arguing for more. So even after this, we were considering going on strike to keep asking for more. Because we were saying 25% inflation, and then we got 3%. And also we fixed the problem with the sick leave pay and the annual leave, and then the British Council started following the law on that. So that was a big improvement, and then a lot of hourly paid teachers got back pay of 5 years as well. So that some of them got very large payments about a year ago. This is perhaps a smaller win, but we also forced management to honour labour law regulations and to form a labour management council. And I think that could be better, but it could be an effective vehicle for making like smaller changes on a kind of monthly basis. So after collective bargaining ended last year, and so this was about in the summer last year, we had a press conference or kind of rally outside the largest teaching centre. So there's me, I'm wearing the same shirt there as I was today. Again, if you want to see some video, it was reported in the media, but you could have a look at this website there if you're interested to watch some video of the event. So that was really to protest that collective bargaining had ended, but we'd only got 3%. We weren't happy, and we were announcing that there was a possibility of a strike or a strike vote was imminent. And then that sort of brings me to our kind of current issues and challenges, because the strike vote we had to cancel it really or put it on hold, postpone it, and so we haven't had a proper strike vote yet. And that was because right around the time that I announced we're going to have a strike vote and when the vote would be, our most senior manager in the region, she announced a series of meetings with staff and employees, and she really used, let's say, cherry-picked, well, in my opinion, maybe should be careful about what I say here, but in my opinion, cherry-picked data or selective data that was used to really scare our union members and scare staff and make them feel that their jobs were very threatened, under threat.
Yeah, we got to be careful about the language of like what was said in those meetings, but I think we can be pretty. I think we can say that yes, people walked out of those meetings afraid they were going to lose their job, just from the responses that people had after those meetings, things people were saying.
A fair amount of voter intimidation.
I think that we need to be saying allegedly, I think, until the decision comes in.
Yeah, allegedly. Well, there's an ongoing tribunal. We have the final tribunal hearing 2 days from now. The whole tribunal process has taken several months. We'll get a verdict early next month after the final hearing on Thursday. And so this is all we've had them at the Ministry of Labour in the room that's called the Tribunal for Unfair Labour Practices, which is like a courtroom setting. And yeah, so we'll find out the verdict, but it's clear that the people who attended the meetings came out and they definitely felt that their jobs were under threat. That's what they said.
Well, yeah, and I think, okay, it was in my opinion, but I think it would be an opinion we all shared. I felt like that strike vote was a slam dunk that we were going to go on strike, in my opinion. From how people were talking about it, the union members were talking about it beforehand. It felt to me like it would have passed easily, in my opinion.
Yeah, so a strike probably would have passed, and then after those, we call them like intimidatory meetings in our view, then probably the strike wouldn't have passed. And we think it was unfair because they didn't actually back up the data when they said, you know, here are some statistics and data that prove why we're in big financial difficulty. That wasn't like backed up.
Well, it's specifically in the meetings, we were told that there was a possibility that the biggest branch would be shut down. That in which,
at that point in time too, there was a pre-vote to strike meeting that we had like via Teams, or it was online anyway, maybe Zoom or whatever, where the queue was totally clogged up with people that I feel, the managers who were members at the time, who I feel each had their own separate argument as to why we should not. If you'll recall that was pretty like, it basically took up the entire block of the meeting, so that the other members didn't really have any chance for like any sort of rebuttal, and sort of a filibuster. Big time, but it was just like one after one after one after one after one about why it was a bad idea.
There were a couple of people who were in the union at the time who, in my opinion, were managers, basically moles.
Yeah, there were managers in the meeting who were basically just,
we made a mistake there. We should not have let them.
Yeah.
They were managers.
But I mean, that really
their title was head teacher.
That
but they were managers.
Put a pretty big damper on the momentum as well.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah.
Again, all in my opinion.
Yes.
Allegedly.
I think once we have the final result of the tribunal, it'll be easier to start talking about whether we're going to resume and have an actual strike vote.
Yeah.
Because we'll be in a better position to say how valid this was, you know, what we call our deficit as management have described it. Okay, so there are a few other issues and challenges. So for example, and this has all come really this year since the start of this summer.
They're doing a real flood the zone strategy right now.
Yeah,
they're just trying to throw stuff at us.
Yeah, Sean said flooding the zone with a kind of series of things that would worsen our working conditions.
Correct.
And so many of us on older contracts, because the British Council is a 7-day operation and they do most of their business on Saturday and Sunday, which is the weekend. And then all of us have to work at least one of those 2 days. But those of us on older contracts when we signed up, we'd only have to work on one, but not both of those days. And just recently, this summer, they told many of us who are here in this room actually that we would have to work both.
They tried to tell us.
Yeah, not that we'd have to work 7 days a week. We'd still have our days off, but our days off would be, between Monday and Friday, which would give us very little time to spend with our families. I think the union has already really helped with this, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do
I
this.
think we just stop the management for now, but I feel that the management of the Greek Council then they will try that again.
Yeah, we'll see, but without the union on our side, I mean, there'd be probably nothing we could do about this. But
Yeah, I'm 100%.
Oh, 100%.
And then I told you earlier at the beginning that the full-time teachers have a 10-point pay scale. I should say we had a 10-point pay scale because that was removed unilaterally on the 1st of July.
Again, illegal.
And replaced with a pay range structure, and the pay range doesn't give any guarantees about if there will be pay rises or by how much each year. So it's a very big change that affects a lot of our teachers very negatively.
Also, for younger teachers like me who are in it, it no longer includes pay rises for additional qualifications like master's degrees or.
You don't have to do it, man.
Hey, I would like to get paid more. If I can get the jump, that'd be nice.
Do the math, paying for those things.
That's true.
Yeah, so I think this is something that with the union on our side, we can fight for this, and I think we have a good chance of winning. And then another thing that as a cram school, which is probably different to a university situation, according to labour law, we're supposed to be allowed to book our annual leave when we want it, and not have it be told when to take it. But they've recently they're moving to a fixed annual leave system as well. So it's another violation that we have to fight for, or fight against, I should say. And then there's just general increasing workload. I think that's probably a problem in Ming as well, and probably all educational institutions where management think that they can squeeze more work out of you for the same pay. And the LMC, the Labour Management Council that we helped to establish, that's being sidelined a lot of the time, so we need to really work on that and fix that problem and make sure that it is the effective vehicle that it could be. A problem for us is the changing workforce, because in the last 2 years we've lost a lot of teachers. Teachers have just left the company. And so that means union membership has started to drop. The percentage, we were at 70%, and that has now dropped down. So we need to find a way to encourage new teachers to join the union. And then I think we're probably going to need another round of collective bargaining to deal with these issues. Because I was talking to PC the other day.
Sorry, again, I think I mentioned this to you earlier. I don't think these should be collective bargaining. Breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law. Every single, those top 5 are against the law, what they're doing. It should go through the labor board.
I think the appeal of collective bargaining on this is that there's so many things around it. This is such a wide list. If we try to approach each one separately, it kind of misses.
No, they all fall under the LMC.
I know, but it kind of misses the forest for the trees.
The LMC, they're breaking the law right now.
I know, exactly, but
Can I finish real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
If we do one thing where they're trying to run all these changes to our work, that means all of those would have to be okay through the LMC.
Yeah.
That's one thing that breaks. So all of the laws they're breaking can be covered under. They're not running these things through the LMC.
All right.
Okay. And I'm not saying we don't do collective bargaining. I'm saying these are not for collective bargaining. They're breaking the law.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
I see that. Okay. All right. That's a good idea.
I kind of agree with both of you here. I think what you're saying, Clayton is saying, if we put all these issues together, we could deal with them all at once in collective bargaining. And Sean's saying, but what is there to bargain about? If they're violating the law, then we just make sure that they follow the law.
Yeah.
I don't know, is this something we should discuss here, or maybe we need to keep this a bit private to talk about a strategy?
Maybe I can explain that further later.
Yeah, okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
It's perhaps something that we shouldn't put out necessarily to the public about our strategy just yet.
Right. Well, I don't know if that's straight, but also I think that if we're going to send this out to members and potential members, they should know that these are against the law, the things that that is true.
I think that potential members could know these are all things that the union could help us fight with or fight against legally, and that we could possibly win on each of these issues, and we couldn't do that without the union. But also, if we were going through another round of collective bargaining, then potential members might come forward with other issues that we could add to this, and they might want to join the union because they know that, okay, you're going for collective bargaining and you're going to be trying to negotiate about this, and also perhaps there are other issues we haven't thought of.
Technically, we didn't really finish collective bargaining yet. Like with that first round finished, and then there was possibility of strike, and then we have to go back into collective bargaining. Like, we never finished the first one.
That's the pay dispute. That would be a separate thing.
Yeah.
So the pay dispute would still be ongoing. That's separate to this.
Okay.
But yeah, that's about it really. So I don't know if you put this questions page again.
Very fancy.
But yeah, perhaps I should pass it over to PC. Or does anyone want to ask any questions?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I can pass it over to PC because we're supposed to have a general discussion, I think.
Yeah. Okay. I need your I may need your opinion. Should I answer Sean's question first, or I can also leave because we booked this room from 1 to 3. I'm not sure will the Ming Chuan, the university will ask us to leave after 3. I don't know about that.
I might be able to get.
Sorry? Okay. But I will suggest that because I believe most of the members of the Ming Chuan branch and the members of the British Council Taiwan branch, maybe you still don't know each other, so maybe I will leave some time. Sorry?
Just on the time question, according to the schedule outside of the door, which in my experience are usually accurate by this time of the semester, there isn't a class following us.
No,
okay.
So at 3?
So Cliff, you are saying
does not
that
appear to be.
there will be a class after 3, right?
No.
No?
Not that from what I can see, there are no classes scheduled. So it is possible they would. There's possible they would say, "Oh, it's 3 o'clock. You have to go now." I kind of doubt it, but that's what I know.
Okay.
But there isn't a class coming in.
Yeah, I hope so.
No, there is not.
Oh, there's not?
There's not.
Okay, good. So maybe I will have some time to let everyone to just introduce yourself briefly, and to know each other.
Should we maybe turn off the camera at this point?
Yeah,
then?
yeah.
Let me just. Okay, so. I think right now everybody kind of, the sense of the room is, let's just kind of talk and share our experiences and so on. And because there are some people who probably are more okay with being on record with some of that stuff than others, and all of us, I think, might feel we need to edit ourselves. I'm going to officially declare, not you, obviously, although the constant refrain of "in my opinion" is nice.
Gotta watch your hands too.
So I'm going to say that the part of this meeting that we're going to share with the general public or whoever's interested will be ended now. But we do thank you very much if you've sat here through all of this. You're strong people.
Yeah.
Stand up for yourselves. Can you go ahead and turn that off for us now?
All right.